Okay, I think we can get this meeting going. It's 12:30. We're going to call our workshop to order, and the first item on the agenda is South Stream Phase 1. Mr. Gregg, if we can get you to come up here and tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are. I wanted to let some of the new faces out in the for a workshop. This is an opportunity. It's an interactive workshop, so if you have any questions or comments, I will recognize you to ask any questions that you'd like. Yes, sir. Tell us what you got going.
Mayor and commissioners and professional staff, it's an honor to be here with you this afternoon to talk about this project. Obviously, you have some other things going on there because you're up there on the board. When I scheduled this, it was prior to the town's decision to purchase undeveloped lands out there. And because of the scenario that the RO zone piece was not divided from the balance of the property you purchased, one of your staff members had mentioned at one point that you might want to sell the RO piece, which is 6 acres on Route 213. I do have a buyer who I had been working with prior to you making the purchase, and I wanted to let you know that if there is any interest, just let me know.
Mm-hmm.
But my primary concern is getting the 23 remaining residential building lots out there into a situation where they can be within a reasonable expectation of someone making a little bit of money on them, get them into a buildable status. Just yesterday, we discovered that there's another obstacle that we didn't know of, and that is the sediment erosion control plans out there were allowed to expire during the foreclosure process, and so they've got to be updated and brought to the next standard rather than just resubmitted in their current form. That adds about a six-figure number to what it's going to cost to bring this site online for.
Real quickly, is the 23, I drove out there today and I saw where there's multiple lots that are available. Is all 23 ready to build on?
All 23 are ready to build on, with the exception of the bonding that has to be put back into place. And the stormwater management that we now know has to be done, before we can, pull a permit. I do have I've been able to cobble together a group of investors that have interest in the property, but the issue is the cost to bring the site online, complete the site, bring it to town standards, and the cost of your insurance period bonding program. Typically, when a project is 1 to 5 years old, if you're going to see failures in water and sewer systems, that's where you're going to see it, or you're going to see it at 50+ years. So your normal insurance requirements would expect a project to start and finish within that 5-year period, and then so you're needing time when facilities are new to make sure that they don't fail. This project has been in the ground over 10 years, and there have been no issues with regard to any of the water and sewer facilities. So that would be a logical reason to perhaps look at what amount is being required for bonding post the time that it is turned over to the town. And my understanding is that can be a bond or a letter of credit. But there are still costs associated with it, and that's one of that 2-year period of required monies to be up is part of the issue that we're running into from a standpoint of being able to affordably reactivate the community. The fact that the town has waived the major facilities fees is an indication that you are really interested in having additional people hook up to the system and start paying the quarterly fees. So I'm assuming that you have a motivation to try and get a project from dead to moving. The other, and so looking at the post turnover bonding is an issue there. The other thing is that we have We have a contractor who has done a lot of work for the town of Elkton, local Cecil County contractor, Logan and Sons. And they have given us their estimate to complete the work to the town's standards and turn it over. And they said that that number is $250. Current bonding requirements are almost $350. That $100,000 in additional bonding cost is probably the difference between making this a viable project to get back off the ground and having it just sit out there. And I don't think anybody wants to see that. I ride by that project, almost daily when I go to visit my son in Kensington. So it could be an eyesore. At times, it has been an eyesore in the past, and we just don't want to see that be a continuing issue for the town.
I rode back here earlier today, and I feel bad for the residents that are still in the same base of blacktop, probably for the last 10 years. Is that a fair thing to say? So it's never been with a final coat of painting, which is no one's fault here.
No, but and it has never had. I mean, nobody's going in to work on the base coat where it's alligator and broken up and those kind of things. So this group would go in, it would take care of the base coat, and they would finish the project out. And of course, the town has say on when the final coat blacktop goes on. The project is dirt heavy. There's a lot of dirt in there that has to be hauled off. Mr. Larson left a pile of dirt like the size of this meeting that's 2 stories high at one place in the project, and there are a couple of other piles that were never really, they were never properly stabilized. They were silt fenced, and so what we're looking to do is go in and fix it up, make it look right, sell it out, turn it over to homeowners.
What do you need from us?
We need some consideration in the bonding amount, and we need some consideration in the, and also the bonding amount for the insurance period. This is, there's not another organization in the county, to my knowledge, that has that insurance period, other than the town of Elkton. And cost, because of what happened in the meltdown, cost of bonding is very high. It's no longer a simple process. There are very few local organizations that will do it at all. And so it is really a problem at this point because there's so much money out and it's only 23 lots. So the cost per lot is really, really high.
If we were able to work out the bonding issue, and I'm not sure if we can or can't, the 23 lots that are available and ready to go, what do you project based on today's economy?
Complete build out in less than 24 months.
Wow.
So you'll have 23 connections paying your water and sewer fees in less than 2 years.
Well, I think that's very important to us because we want to finish up one of these neighborhoods and have it as a neighborhood.
Right. Because right now it looks terrible. Like you said, the folks who live in there have been living with a construction mess.
It's a construction site, but it's a beautiful neighborhood.
When
It's a beautiful
it's
neighborhood.
finished, it will be a very beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah.
It needs to have the public park installed, and that's called for in the plans, to allow for a place for the kids to play. I mean, none of that stuff has been touched.
Lou, what do you see? What direction can we go here?
Well, the first thing I need is his proposal in writing.
I can get that for you.
I'm sorry?
I can get that for you.
Yeah, everything you say and you can do, it has to be in writing for us to get consideration. What he's
Okay.
talking about, I think, on the insurance is the warrant. They usually when the public works crew is completed, they have to maintain 10% usually as a letter of credit or bond or whatever, usually letter of credit, has a warranty period for 2 years.
It was much more than 10% because the original bond was 1.8 million, and the bond is 300 and...
No, usually it's at the end of the project, because we will reduce letters of credit over a period of time when the water, sewer, road, curb, gutter, stuff like, so it's actually reduced in time. And at the end of the project will be a certain amount that's due, you know, if there's any outstanding public improvement that has to be done. And if that's closed out, there will be 10% of that. So it would be not 10% of $1 million, something be.
Well, yeah, but right
I
now
think right now it's
about...
365,000, but Logan, if they said 250, we'll have our engineers review that.
I'll
And if
put
the
that
engineers
together.
agree, then 250 would be fine.
Okay. All right, we'll put all that together for you.
Yeah, just put it in writing and we'll get back to you, because we're willing to work with you as best we can, because we'd like to get that development done too, you know?
Right.
And I'm sure you would benefit from it. you know?
And then with regards to the current bond amount, would that also be able to affect what is currently there? My understanding from your staff is that there's to be no further lowering of the current bond amount, nor was there to be any lowering of the warranty amount. That those were set based upon percentages of the original bond.
I can't answer that question until you submit it in writing, and then I'll get back to you on it, because there may
Okay.
be consideration there.
I will,
Okay.
okay? All right.
Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments about this?
No, I know we need the residential housing developed, and to finish that neighborhood would be
You
great,
can
so
leave it there.
I think we should do everything we can to make this work.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address, please.
Lee Brown, 61 Times Street in South Stream. Several thoughts run through my mind. First thing is I'm going to give you credit for attempting to do things in South Stream, okay? For example, the town replaced all the storm grates. You guys came in and put cold patch on top of all the manhole covers so you could plow the streets.
Sir, I didn't do anything.
Well,
Nor
I realize
did
that.
the folks.
No, sir.
Afraid-
Hey,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
faulting us.
Okay, so I'm praising
Oh, thank you.
for certain efforts that have been done, okay? I'm a little bit angry right at the moment, from the standpoint that I'm hearing something in this room about sediment permits being allowed to expire. When I asked the question, who was responsible for the sediment area, don't worry about it.
I remember that.
You were sitting in your truck?
Yeah, that was about the grass. You were talking about the grass.
No,
about the
and I
grass
asked you
cut
about
through.
who is responsible for the sediment area.
One
And you
right
were
now.
told, you told me, don't worry about it.
That's a
it'll
whole
be
different
worse."
issue than what he's talking about for the permit.
This is a plan that is approved by Cecil Soil, which is a state office, and it has to be in an acceptable form for them in order for the town to be able to issue a building permit. This isn't what's out there already. This is an on-paper plan that's required by the state. It's not, it doesn't have to do with the storm ponds that are there. As a matter of fact, if you develop the site now, you're not even allowed to have storm ponds.
Okay, so is what you're telling us is that your 23 lots are going to take over, who's going to pay?
Are going to take over responsibility for the storm ponds that are there, as well as at the end, they have to be mucked out and dedicated to the town in a way and manner that is acceptable to the town. That's, if we can make this project work, it fixes all that. There's but the numbers have to work. That's what we're trying to do, is to make the numbers work.
Yeah, I think everyone's aware that the total parcel is now owned by, which bank is it?
M&T Bank.
M&T Bank, and the developer of the project was foreclosed upon. And we're trying to do the best we can with that total parcel. And it's, and I believe me, I understand your.
I don't want it to come back on the present 23 homeowners.
Oh, no.
That
no,
were
not-
suddenly being assessed for
No, absolutely not.
an extra $200,000 because we didn't maintain that area,
No, not at all.
okay?
No. Not
We
at
are
all.
attempting to avoid that, sir.
Well, see, now, he's saying no, and you're saying you're
Well,
attempting.
Providing we can get the project to where it moves forward, then it won't have anything, you won't have any responsibility, because the parties that take over will be required to do everything that they are responsible to do. They have to step in, pick up where Mr. Larson failed, and carry it all the way to fruition. And they have to have acceptable bonds with the town, which means that if for some reason they were to fail, the town would have the monies available to them to complete the job so that it doesn't fall to them. The current bonds have expired.
Well,
The
you
ENS
know,
plan
that's
has
where
expired.
where
I mean,
I'm
we're
getting
trying
a
to get
little upset
everything-
about all this, is that we let things expire when we should be enforcing those
There's no way to
bonds.
force someone who is at the edge of bankruptcy and being foreclosed upon to spend money with an engineer and do work. It just, there's no way for any organization to make someone do something if they're not willing to do it. And unfortunately, that's where this project went, and we're now attempting to bring it back into productivity and away from where anyone other than the parties who are finishing the development would be responsible for it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Catherine Jernberg, 60 Time Street, but we're not next to each other. I have a question about the hierarchy of the people involved in this. Mr. Gregg, you would be the developer?
No, ma'am. I am a real estate professional.
Okay.
I'm with Remax Chesapeake. I have been retained by M&T Bank
Okay.
to find a way to sell this asset. And the only way to sell it is to sell it, you know, their requirements are that, you know, the party has to take over all economic responsibility on the project.
So Logan and Sons would be the developer, or?
Now, Logan and Sons is a local contractor that we got some bids from.
Okay.
But they're not involved in terms of anything other than as a roads and stormwater management, stormwater contractor.
Okay, so the project's a lot more in the distance than I was.
We'd like for it not to be. We would like to find a way to, within 30 days, have this project where it is moving forward. We'd like to get a model home built in there before the snow flies and start to sell houses and like I said, get this thing moved through. There's no reason it should take more than 2 years to sell out the project in our current economic situation.
For being the person that's been next door to the model for, what, 2 years now, I can see a model ending up next door to me here again, so it's just my personal.
Well, the model home, the model home we intend to build is on lot 4,
Oh,
coming in South Street Drive.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also wanted to, while we're on the subject, I wanted to mention about the other 46 acres. I made a comment at the last meeting about, I thought it would be a great vision to be able to connect Marina Park down through and provide access to folks on Whitehall Road with a bike trail, an area where they could walk, ride, their bikes, go down to fish, go down to the kayak launching area, come into our downtown. And I've received multiple letters and a lot of comments from the folks from South Stream and or Southfields and South Stream and the Kensington Courts area, that they would not be in favor of any connection into Whitehall Road that would allow access into our downtown area. I would say, I think that the biggest thing that was addressed upon was, I think that most people didn't realize that in October 2017, the town of Elkton, with the Public Works Department and the Elkton Police Department, we took over our parks again. We're enforcing from daylight to dark, no camping in our parks. We patrol our parks. And I would recommend that anyone that thinks that there's tent cities in Elkton, in the town of Elkton, please take a look at Marina Park. Please take a look behind the Big Elk Mall. There is zero. It's been clean since October 2017. So I think there's a perception out there that we still have a tremendous amount of tents in our town. I will say that the last tent city was on that parcel that the town of Elkton is getting ready to acquire behind Rural Farms, and the owners of Rural Farms got permission from M&T. They actually got the power of attorney from M&T to go in there and do the cleanup and remove the tent city that was behind Rural Farms. That was done probably 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and it's been cleaned up. This will give the town of Elkton the ability to be able to include this into our park system, to where we can enforce a daylight to dark as with all of our parks. It will be a good thing for the residents, but with all the comments I received, I want to take back my comment of making that trail all the way to Whitehall, because it won't happen with the residents of the community have spoken. They've spoken very loud to me that there won't be a continuing trail to Whitehall. So I wanted to get that off my chest. So I did address it on social media this morning. I finally became a member of the Kensington Courts Communication Group. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a comment that you did more to unite the Whitehall Road area than anything else that's happened in the last few years.
That's great news.
Negative for you, but I mean, I have never seen the outpouring of unity and comments that I saw this weekend.
And it actually gave me an opportunity to tell the good that the town of Elkton has been doing. I think that anyone that goes from work and goes straight home and they don't go into certain areas and they hear, my gosh, there's addicts, there's homelessness, there's drug dealings going on in our parks. That's not true. It's not true anymore. And that's a perception we got to change. But it is a strong perception.
Definitely.
It's a strong perception, but we're doing our best to change it. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to send that message forward. With that, the next thing on the agenda is LB Water. Come on down, Dan Hanley. In group. Come on, group. Mr. Turnbull.
Very good chairs.
And I wanted to, I think the board's all aware of this, but we had a meeting, I guess a few weeks ago with Dan and his staff, and we were talking about the smart meters and how we're moving forward with this, and how we're going to do everything in-house with the Public Works. And I think it's extremely important for all of us to understand exactly how the metering process is going to work, and how we're going to continue our partnership with LB Water.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. How are you? With me today, I brought a couple people, and we'll talk about the entire meter process itself, the history, where we're going, and where we've been. With me next to me is Mark Turnbull, my infrastructure coordinator. Hi, Mark.
I don't.
Next to him is my safety coordinator, Mike Campbell, who's in charge of picking up the individual people. And that fine-looking guy in the corner is Dave Wilson from LB Water. He's our census water representative. History of it, just to bring the board back up to speed, back in 2012, the state of Maryland passed an ordinance saying that they went to a no lead. They can't have any lead in the water distribution system. So based at that time, based on which have existing meters, we went with an option. You know, you can either went with all brass, you can went for a plastic, different composite things, so forth and therefore. So therefore, the town elected to, back in 2012, to go with the census meters, which you guys, everybody's seen is very familiar with. And that's where LB Water comes in, because they have the local distributor of the census meter. So that's how we got to the census meter at this point, okay? Now, back in 2016 or 17, we'll jump up, Mayor Ault gave us the directive to pursue new meters, in that we want to find out when there was a number of like lost water we didn't know where it was going itself. And we figured it was within the system itself. So between that, he gave us the direction, hey, let's go out, let's look at the whole meter program itself. So what we ended up doing is, the meter, we actually met with Census, met another 2 vendors, and we decided, because of the amount of the time and consideration which we had into this meter, we elected to continue to go with the census meter itself, because we already started installing, like almost 1,000 things already. And then on top of that, to save money, we elected, instead of having an outside vendor to do it, that the DPW crew itself, we actually be switching out the meters as we go. So that's how we got to this point today. Now, the actual meter switching program, the upgrades I call it, is we started in February of 2017, and we started in the Delancey Village area, because that was always an interesting one where, back in the old days, you had to go out and touch the meter and get the reading and all that stuff, and these things were always in the back. So that's why we actually chose this particular area. And we installed the meters itself down there. We've got the new, and then we've got the MX units, and Mark will show you in a second how the whole thing works out. And this is why I actually chose the area. So we've got the test area in February 2017. So the first thing we did is, we wanted to take, there's probably about 87 houses. We wanted to see what we needed to do to coordinate with the residents, with resident schedules and this and that. And that's where Mike comes involved with this one. So what we did was, hey, that Mike. There you go. What we end up doing is, through the finance department would send another assistant to the area, and when they call our office, Mike Campbell here is our sole source. In other words, he's the one person who schedules everything. So not handing it around to different people, you got one person, he's the charge of the master schedule. So it goes that way, he knows where they're coming in, he's the one sole source of contact. If there's, it's not like you're dealing with different people, you're dealing with one source, and that's Mike right there. So that's how that goes itself. And generally it goes from the finance department, it works out pretty good that way. We'll send the first letter out, like we'll get a bunch of calls, it works out great. Then the calls start dying out. And we send the second letter out saying, hey, we need to switch it out. And you'll get some calls, and they'll start dying out accordingly. And then, if we're in a particular area at the same time, we'll start knocking on doors, like if we have representatives here, we'll put a placard saying, hey, you really need to put the meters out there. And you'll get a few that way, and you still get trickles. Eventually, the very last resort, which we don't want to do, but it's pretty effective, is we'll send a letter saying, if you don't contact my system shelter date, we'll terminate your service. And then, again, you'll be surprised how people start calling that. It works out pretty good that way. And I think today we've only had like 5 or 6 of them, but when that happens, they call you back the same day, and we turn it right back on, so it works out that way. So this is how we try to find the different things. Again, utility shut-off is the very last resort we do, and we really won't get to that point, so I like to stress to the community, if you get letters, call Mike ahead of time, and we're flexible schedules. We've done installs on Saturdays, we've done them on nights, it all depends on what's what, and that's how these things work out itself. But again, if you get letters, call us and we'll be glad to set it up, because we like to do it itself. So that's how the actual schedule itself out. Now, Mark will actually show us all the parts and pieces of how we started and where we're going.
Yeah. This is one of the older types, with many different types. And a lot of them had manual reads. You had to walk up and read the number they digitally. And some had touch screens on them. We had many different readers. We went to this, and you put the touch screen on. So you can go up and you touch it, you ain't gotta write nothing down. So now what we're doing is we got these MXUs, which you put on top of this, and you have a walk-by reader, you just walk by it, or drive by it, and it just starts picking up things you go in the neighborhood. And I've tested it, and it's worked, in Danford, no problem. I mean, as soon as they start pulling in, it starts clicking right on. So you just ride through, you're out in just a couple minutes, going to ride down the street and back. And in the future, when we get these all done, if the town decides to go to the next program with the antennas, this meter will do a lot of different things for you. It'll tell you if somebody takes the meter out and say, hey, it's dry. It'll tell you if it's reading backwards, you took out, turn around. You can read it, the final readings we go out and get, they can do it from the office. You should be able to do it from there. It'll tell you if the meter doesn't stop running, you can call the customer up and say, hey, your meter's been running all night long, you better go check something, you know. And with the right program, you can also, I know a couple of you guys have asked about customers will be able to get in with the right program, and they can call up or get on the computer and check their own system and see how it's working. So it's a very good idea, and I feel we're doing pretty good on getting there.
Would that require any kind of update or maintenance, or it's pretty much self-supported?
For this thing, it's well, I guess I have for the program, you got to pay yearly for the program. But the meters are guaranteed for 20 years for accuracy. There's really no moving parts. It's straight through. You go straight through.
Right.
And I've had problems with these type. We got a water leak and it's got a screen in it. We get dirt in it. We're going in houses and cleaning the screens out to get water back to them. And I haven't had that problem with these. Somebody goes inside the house, and we teach them how to fix that.
And the other ones are real fun, they freeze on the bottom, they're real fun. You gotta go up on the bottom, so.
But it's been really successful so far.
Very good. So what's our next step?
Hang on, we're going. Here we go. So now where we've been, this is the purpose of our meeting today, is to have the town to sign a commitment with LB Water to obtain discount pricing. Now, and it's a good idea because we're still over 6,000 meters. And with the commitment, we'll get like a discount as we go. And I'd like Dave, can you go into a little bit of the numbers of the discount pricing for commitment?
Well, we're the distributor for Census, and with the town's commitment, we were able to get better pricing from Census, so that if you compare your pricing that you're currently paying for your meters and endpoints, quantity of 6,000 versus the pricing that we were able to obtain, you're looking at a savings of over $250,000 for those 6,000 meters in smart.
What we're distributing to the board now are packets of the various information that we have. Just to go through the pages briefly, is this is just the first page itself here. It talks about our internal progress, how we're doing. I'll say at the very bottom what my status of the different neighborhoods. So that's first page that we have internally for the finance and DPW every 2 weeks. The second sheet is what Dave just talked about, the actual commitment for the pricing of our estimates right now. We believe the estimate this time, the current pricing is like 1.622 million. And then with the discount, we could save up to 1.370 million. So it's a savings of 250,000. So, and again, it's kind of it's a fluctuating number because we actually, if we can save some of the meters, we try to save the meters. We just put points on it. So that's what that is. The next two sheets 3 and 4, are example with or without the discount. So that's why I just want to show the board with the commitment, it'll save money for the town. And it's something we have to have anyway, because we're committed to the product. So that's why, for us, it makes perfect sense. And the last page is just an overall estimate we talked about last April. We talked about that for the overall project. And we're going to come in when we can meet that amount as well. So that's the entire package I gave to the board. We also have, oh yeah, also, yeah. Also, there's other questions that some of the public has about the radio waves and everything. Census themselves has addressed that. I'll give you that letter from there because there is information. We'll give you that as well. So, and it's been brought up in a couple other meetings. So that's that's what the radio waves actually pick up, and we've actually researched that themselves. So just set that way. Thank you. Our success to date is right now with Delancey Village, we're 99% complete. Still got one straggler, but working on that one. Turnquist, we're at 98% complete. I think I've got one left to put in. and 2 other which are vacant. We're currently at the Thompson Estates Buck Hills area, it's 52% complete, and we start the Heritage Woods area, so it's 17% right now. The other thing we're doing is, with respect to Chapel Run, here it is. Chapel Run, what we're doing is, because the meters are relatively new, we're just going around the neighborhoods and just putting the MX units in for the time being, which will work, and then we'll come back to the very end and switch out the meters. But this actually works out, they're very effective, and again, cost effective, so we're doing this as well. Finally, I'd like to end with a note saying that this is a great example. I'm big on my department of public-private partnerships. And I think our relationship with LB is good because Dave's background is he used to be in charge of the meters at Hartford County. So he actually went through a program like this before. And when we started this, we wanted to make sure we did incremental steps to see what's what, instead of just going nuts everywhere. At least we made sure we installed, we actually see all the installations in the houses, we make sure we can read it. And again, incrementally go, it works out much better that way. And I think LB's been good because, they've been giving us technical support all the way up and, giving us suggestions and all that, because it works out good. Because it was just a strictly, if we didn't have this partnership, all the census we worry about, so 6,000 members and walk away. But it's not that way at all. They're constantly helping with us, they're interacting, and then a lot of times we're bouncing ideas off them to see how it goes that way. So again, this is a great idea for the relationship. I think the commitment's good because we're already committed to the meters anyway, so logically it's the next step involved with it. So this one, reach out to the board and inform them this platform versus a meeting. So.
Lou, do you have any questions or comments or any issues?
No, I
with
think
this?
Dan's moving forward on this, and I'll applaud him and his team for doing such a great job so far. Basically, the reason we needed to discuss this in the board, because it does require a significant monetary commitment on the town's part in order to get the discount pricing. So basically, it needs to be a board decision to pursue it that way. But I think Dan has the capability of carrying through with it. Mike's on a fantastic job, keeping the schedule going, and of course, I think Mark says snapping the whip, when necessary. So
That's what he does all the time.
And my understanding at our meeting that we had was that you're not looking at the $1.3 million up front. It's based on as we pull them,
Right.
as we pull the meters. And I think
Exactly.
that was it was by us committing that we're going to move forward with the census meters and do it in the time frame that we believe that we can. They're stepping up and going to provide the inventory of product for us and have it on hand for us. But we're committing that we're going to be buying that amount of product.
See, our goal is over the winter, we'll start slowing down the field work. We're gonna ramp up this winter, and we'll have a bunch of different crews because we've got enough experienced people, so we're ramping up hard in the winter, and then just, maintaining it during the spring and ramping up again, so that's what we're shooting for. So.
Very good. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Dave,
Yes.
how long have you worked with the census program? How long in Hartford?
I was at Hartford for 33 and a half years.
So the question I have is, I know we're hearing all the good things about that. I think we've done this already, but not to prolong the program. What are some of the negative things that you ran into that we have to look out for before that 20 years runs up with our guarantee?
As far as the long-term product, the long-term problems you're saying, with this meter, the long-term issues kind of go away for that 20-year cycle. It's a no moving part meter. It has a 20-year new meter accuracy warranty. The current meters you're purchasing today have a 15-year full warranty and a 5-year prorated warranty on the battery, as well as the MXU, which is the smart point. So they have just recently changed that. It used to be 10 and 10, now it's 15 and 5. So their confidence in their product, they've extended, made that a better warranty. The real issues are some of the issues they're already dealing with, and that's access.
Getting in the house.
So access are your biggest issues.
So I'm asking that because just in case you move on, leave us after we get everything hooked up, Dan had talked about the communication and the relationship. I would like to know what downfalls we have before anybody exits.
Well, when we initially started this program, Commissioner, we actually talked about, we had actually had KCI involved with it. We talked to other, like Northeast in the Switch, And what we discovered in that, I think in that situation where they had a contractor, they switched, but they didn't monitor it. So when it all came up, it was like, the way, that was kind of a nightmare, that particular thing worked out, so, until they, wrapped their hands around it. So that's why we want to incrementally start, like at Delancey Village, work our way across to make sure all the hiccups, we know ahead of time. So at least you control your areas with what? Control here, control there, then turn the quest and control that one. And same thing with Buck Hill. So at least we know if there's an issue, we'll find it pretty quick. So that's how it works. As we go, incrementally. So we'll do it at once.
Thank you.
Very good. Any comments? Mr. Berg?
Hello, Rod Berg, Kensington Courts. The last time the meter issue came up, the two primary concerns that I heard about and were brought to my attention were the safety issue, which I think you alluded to a moment ago with the paper documents. It would be very useful. The idea is that the radio frequencies used, or whatever frequency used for communication, there's been some write-ups in the press that they were potentially harmful, or some people thought they might be. So if it would be helpful if you guys could make that information that you have on that, so we could share it with our people. So maybe if there's good documentation that says that it's not harmful, then it would help to assuage some fears. The second concern that came up was potential for accuracy. With mechanical meters, you can kind of trust them because the little numbers keep turning. But with electronics, they can blink on and blink off, and you're 10,000 different than you were a second ago. So my question would be, how many years did you see these things in use, and did you run into any accuracy problems?
These meters have been in use for, I believe, 8 years now. Along as any electronics, you can have issues because it has a battery. There were some issues with these meters with some seals where there was moisture infiltration. That's been resolved. So that was the only issue that was found to have any kind of a detrimental effect to the accuracy of the meter. All those meters are fully warranted and replaced. And as far as a meter skipping and increasing 10,000 by blinking, that's
shutting off and then shutting back on, coming back on with a different random result.
That has never been found with these meters.
All right, so my caution is prudently, you're looking for potential pitfalls if these things go in. I might want to encourage you to gain confidence that accuracy would be a problem. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
That goes back to the partnership. In other words, they're committed just like us because we're a big customer. That's why, Obviously, if you look at the census, it's like if something goes wrong in Elkton, they'll know about it. So that's why they're constantly researching, going back and forth the ideas, because again, it goes back to the partnership, because we both want to succeed in this.
Mr. Lemon?
I want to thank the guys, or everybody involved, for a super job of being creative and figuring out how to do the job and also how to save the town money. I think but it's been very creative, and you should be thankful for that. The other thing is, over the long run, this will save the town money, I'm assuming, in field personnel, office personnel, and other things. Do we have any numbers on that?
Only numbers that I know is that when we have to shut meters off, it shut, how many man hours?
We'd send out, 4 or 5 crews,
So you're looking at sending 20 people out in the course of a day to shut meters off and to tag. So if you add that up 4 times a year, it's just in man hours, it's hundreds of man hours.
But you won't need meter readers anymore, I'm assuming.
I think that right now we're going to need that person to drive through the community, but that'll be one person.
And then this originally is conceived to tie it into the office.
That's correct.
And the office is going to be much more, when it's set up correctly, the office will be much more efficient than it is now.
That is correct.
So I'm envisioning that it will save some labor in the office.
I agree.
Also, the person reading meters, there might still, somebody might break a wire on the side of their house or knock this off, so somebody had to go replace it, so it's still in the meter.
No, there'll still be plenty of work for you guys, but that's not where I'm coming from. I think it's a great project, and I think everybody, this gentleman mentioned something in the paper, you could put an article in the paper about what you're doing and how much it is saving. maybe she'll write it up, but at any rate, I think it's, you'd be commended for doing a super job.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Since my house is 6 years old and from here, it kind of looks like the same meter. Is that what I have, or,
I'd have to see, if you had this, all we're doing is we putting this on,
Right, in the back.
and that's inside or outside?
outside.
Yeah, so it's gonna be covering, the back will be
Okay.
covered.
You should have one of these on.
Yeah, I have that.
Very good. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.